The Volkswagen Jetta GLI has always been sort of the GTI, but with a trunk, except for the fact that Volkswagen always, in some way, made it worse than the GTI. For the 7th generation, Volkswagen claims that the GLI is now closer than ever to its GTI counterpart. Today, we're going to discuss whether or not the GLI is going to be worth your consideration over the GTI. Let's go take a deeper dive.
So let's come on to the cabin, where we'll talk about what's different on a Volkswagen GLI versus the GTI. So some things that you can't get on a GTI include heated and ventilated seats. So the GLI does have ventilation on its leather seats on the Autobahn trim, but what I will say about these seats are they are the same as what you'll get in a normal Jetta, not the highly bolstered GTI seats. Volkswagen says that the GTI seats just doesn't fit in the frame rail of the Jetta, so they don't hug you in quite as well. Now, the one thing that I will say about the interior as well over the GTI is the GTI feels like it has a little bit more premium materials. Some of the materials are just a little bit softer, so I do feel like the GTI feels a lot more premium and upscale than this GLI model. The one thing that you do get on the GLI model, though, that you can't get on a GTI is virtual cockpit. This is Volkswagen's digital display. It replaces the analog gauges. I really like how they look. They're very cool. You can change the colors when you come over here and change the drive modes. I'm going to go ahead and put in sport. That makes it glow red. But what I will say about this particular virtual cockpit is that it isn't quite as useful as some other Volkswagens because the GLI does not have built-in nav. So you see when I come over here to this where I would normally get a full map, since this car does not have it, I don't get the full color map up here, which kind of makes the virtual cockpit just a little bit redundant. I do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto to get a map, but those will not display on the virtual cockpit.
Coming back to the back seats, the Jetta is actually much more practical than the Golf, meaning the GLI is going to have more room back here than the GTI. I've got 37.4 inches of legroom, whereas the Golf only gives you about 35.4. So if you have people in the back seats often, the GLI is actually going to be better than its hot hatch sibling. Now, the one thing you do get in the GTI that you don't get in the GLI is rear vents, so I am quite hot back here. Now, the GLI has been hampered in the past in terms of performance, but finally we get the exact same engine as you do in a GTI, a 2-liter turbocharged TSI unit. It produces the same 228 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque as the GTI, sending power to the front wheels through either a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed DSG. But to explain how well this engine performs, let's go ahead and get it out on the road.
So let's put that amazing GTI engine and magic diff into practice with a nice launch. So let's go ahead and floor it. Let's go. A little bit of wheel slip right off the line, no problem. 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds with the manual. If you get the DSG, you're going to be a little bit quicker at 5.6 seconds. Now, the GLI finally handles much like the GTI. We've got the same diff as the GTI, the same engine as the GTI. This longer wheelbase does make this a little softer to me than the GTI, and I think they have still tuned this for luxury. So the GTI still feels slightly sharper to me, but if you want the more luxurious car and the less expensive car, the GLI is going to be a great option. Now let's go deeper into that price.
So that was the 2020 Volkswagen Jetta GLI Autobahn. Pricing for this guy starts at under $30,000. It gets pushed a little bit above that with destination and things, or if you want to opt for that DSG transmission. But I think after driving this for a week, the manual is the way I'd go. Now, this was only a quick look at the 2020 Jetta GLI. If you want our full review, you have to subscribe to the CarBuzz YouTube channel and hit that notification bell. That's how you get alerted of all our latest videos and where you can check out the test drive of this 2020 GLI. But we do hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.